everyone. Carl here with Littleroot Lessons, bringing you a deep dive featuring Charizard this week. Charizard was the voted Pokemon on Friday, and it is perfect time for Series 11, where Gigantamax and Dynamax is back, and Charizard can try to come back and rule the roost as it did in real early series. But before we get started on Charizard, make sure to check out our merch store. Go to our website, hit merchandise, and there's a link you can go there. It takes you to our Teespring store. There's hoodies and shirts and a bunch of different colors. There's coffee mugs if that's something you're into. There's a bunch of different stickers. Highly recommend going and checking all that stuff out. We worked really hard trying to get it all set up, so it'd be appreciative if you go and check it out at least. And make sure to follow us on Twitter. On Fridays, we do our deep dive polls, where you can vote for the Friday Pokemon for deep dives. I'm not sure what will be up since I'm recording this in the future, but it's sure to be a good selection of Pokemon for Series 11, and would definitely love to hear your input on what you'll want to see. So Charizard. Charizard is I would call one of the prongs of the powerful Sun teams that we see in Series 11 and Series 8 and things like that. Think Groudon, Venusaur, Charizard, usually Regieleki or Grimmsnarl, Porygon 2 or Umbreon, stuff like that. And why it's so good on some teams is usually due to its powerful Gigantamax move, G-Max Wildfire. Being able to get a Sun boosted, Solar Power boosted big fire attack off into your opponent is going to do a lot of damage for you, but then Wildfire gets to tick on afterwards and deal damage over time to the rest of the team as long as they're not a fire type. Granted, Venusaur has the same thing in G-Max Fine Lash, Colossal has it in Volcalith, Blastoise has it in Cannonade, but Charizard was the originator of this, and we hadn't seen anything like that before. And even before that, in early series, we didn't even get Solar Power Charizard till Series 3. So now that we have Solar Power to go alongside this Gigantamax Charizard, it's a fantastic threat on any team that can set up Sun. Think Sableye, think Whimsicott, Torkoal, Groudon obviously. Anything that can learn Sunny Day that can do it at a quick enough pace will be a good partner for Charizard and the teams that want to do that in general. Charizard's actual play throughout Sword and Shield has been varied. I would call it really high early on. It kind of dipped into Series 5 and 6. Once we got into Series 5, it kind of dipped because the Galar starters got their hidden abilities, and it was kind of cool. And didn't really see too much of Charizard. Series 6 came out. Charizard was back again, being able to do Dynamax things and whatnot. Series 7 came out, and it was okay. Not the greatest. Mainly due to the fact that Colossal was around and could easily answer an opposing Charizard, being able to outspeed it and hit it for 4 times super effective, so we just didn't see Charizard at all in Series 7 mostly. And then we saw the resurgence of Sun teams in Series 8. So it kind of goes to show that Charizard has seen play in a bunch of different formats, but mainly the ones that revolve around Dynamax. We didn't see Charizard a whole lot in Series 10, mainly due to the fact that its Gigantamax move is what makes it really powerful, and not having access to that means that Charizard's weaker than the general Pokemon. And as we kind of look into going to Series 11, we see that Charizard can have an opportunity to kind of come back and be a very good powerhouse, being resistance to steel, immune to ground, things like that. And having back access to that G-Max Wildfire is going to be really, really good again. Now, granted, take that with a grain of salt. Colossal's also really, really good again. So we could see a repeat of Series 7 where we don't see Charizard at all. Or we could have a repeat of Series 8 where Charizard becomes a great Pokemon and Colossal sees almost no play because Groudon is on the team and just kind of rules the roost. Take it as you will. It's going to be a real big toss-up to see how powerful and how common Charizard is going to be in this Series 11 format. When we look at common partners for Charizard, we think of the Sun team. We think Groudon, we think Venusaur, Regieleki, Umbreon, P2, all of these Pokemon are super duper common. Venusaur sitting here at 79% usage means that a lot of the Sun teams just want to play Charizard as a fire type, since their ground type is Groudon and sets up the Sun for them. So they get this kind of cool fire grass ground core, which can kind of work as a similar core to fire water grass. Just struggles a little bit in certain places against other types. Alongside that, we see Regieleki here at 25, Grimmsnarl at 57, Incineroar at 42. I mentioned Porygon 2 earlier on. Whimsicott's another popular one. Just think things that Charizard can be helped with, like screens, fake out, speed control, setting up Sun. Those are usually what you're going to see alongside Charizard, because it does need a little help outside of Gigantamax to actually work. So it's interesting to see that the teams are so funneled in comparison to some of these other things. Like we see like Zacian, or we talked about Reshiram. Reshiram was all over the place on Wednesday, usage-wise, whereas this Charizard is very funneled, very tuned into, I need to do this thing, and this is what does this thing well. So when we look at the metagame breakdown here, we see that Protect is the most played move on Charizard. Charizard isn't the bulkiest Pokemon. We'll get to that when we get to movesets, and you'll see how much it actually lacks in terms of bulk. But Protect at 89%, super obvious here. You want to be able to keep your Charizard around for as long as possible, and if that's through Protect or whatever other status move you have, that's fine. Heat Wave and Blast Burn are kind of fighting for top spot. Actually, a lot of the common sets run both, mainly due to the fact that you either need spread damage against things like Amoonguss and stuff like that, or you need single target damage to do those really powerful G-Max Wildfires, or maybe pick up a KO here and there. As for flying type coverage, Hurricane doesn't make the most sense since its accuracy is lowered in Sun, but it can give you a decent answer, like if Kyogre pops up, into dealing with a grass type on Kyogre's team, whereas you can't hit it with a powerful fire attack normally. Air Slash here is the second most common flying type move. Both give you access to max airstream. Air Slash is a little bit better in my opinion, mainly due to the fact that since you're playing Charizard in the Sun, Hurricane isn't as good. Ancient Power here at 45% as well, usually played with the Assault Vest sets that we saw later on in Series 8, alongside Scorching Sands. Was very, very common as we got into the tail end of Series 8 here, having answers into an opposing Regieleki, having answers into opposing Charizards and things like that, meant that you were better off in the mirror and could face other teams besides the ones that you knew you had good matchups against. When we look at items, though, we see that Life Orb is the most common item at 52%, and it makes sense. Wanting to deal a ton of damage, hit as hard as possible. I am more in the camp of a bulkier Charizard, in my opinion, is better. Being able to play in that Sun Mirror is really, really good, so Assault Vest is my preferred item. There's also a Conberry and Lumberry to kind of help you out in the Sun Mirror. Sometimes these Sun teams are playing Regieleki to deal with opposing Charizards, so having that Wakanberry means that you don't just auto-lose to a Dynamaxed Regieleki. And then Safety Goggles here at 7%, kind of helps again with that Sun matchup a little bit, helps against Amoonguss, helps against the Rage Powder redirection and stuff like that. Also notably, if you set up Sand, you don't take Sand Chip from your own Sand, so that's something kind of cool to think about when you're team building as well. But overall, these items are fairly standard. You can also slap Citrus Berry on there. Citrus Berry is starting to become a popular item too, even though Calyrex Shadow and Calyrex Ice just turn off berries altogether. Still think about playing maybe a Citrus Berry for a bulkier Charizard. When looking to build with Charizard, it really needs the sun to shine so it can do its own thing in Series 11 and unencumbered. Looking for ways to guarantee your weather is always a good option. Like I mentioned, Groudon is very, very popular. You can play Torkoal. Sableye was really popular in Series 6, doing sunny day things with it and Quash and all that kind of stuff. You could do Whimsicott. Whimsicott's another prankster sunny day user. Other things you could think of are using Max Flare off your Dynamax Pokemon. Then that's kind of counterproductive. But if the situation arises like that, maybe baiting a Max Flare from your opponent and then switching in Charizard and then Dynamaxing and doing it that way might get you into a better position than most of the time. And having a powerful ground type on your team definitely helps Charizard's weaknesses against Electric and Rock. That's why Groudon is such a good pairing with Charizard and Venusaur. It kind of creates this weird trio that's not like the standard Fire, Water, Grass, or Fantasy core, and gives you weakness coverages for your Charizard and your Venusaur all at the same time, while also being able to help deal with some of your ground types weaknesses. Think water types are really, really good into your Charizard and your Groudon. Venusaur answers that with grass, and so on and so forth down the line. So it's interesting that this becomes a weird core without having the powerful water type that we normally associate with fire, water, grass. And while it's obvious that Groudon is the best sun setter for this team idea, you can look into other alternatives when setting up sun, like Sableye or Whimsicott, like I mentioned earlier, which can affect how your team building goes. Hot Dog was something that was very, very popular in the Series 8 format with Zacian, Sableye, and Charizard, so you can interact with that way, maybe get a better sun matchup using an Assault Vest Charizard with Sableye and Zacian, rather than trying to just run down Sun Mirrors all day. Or looking at Whimsicott, who gets Sunny Day, to maybe interact with opponents in a different way with using Prankster Encore, Prankster Trick, or Switcheroo and things like that. When we're looking at the base stats and movesets for Charizard here, we see that its overall bulk is a little lacking. Charizard is a very offensive type of Pokemon, wanting to deal a ton of damage very, very quickly. That's why we see its special attack at base 109 and its speed at base 100. However, its HP, defense, and special defense leave a lot to be desired, and that's why it's so good in Dynamax, or in this case Gigantamax. Doubling that HP means that your 78 defense and your 85 special defense mean a little bit more because your HP is doubled. So think about it that way and try to think of ways to utilize Charizard in Gigantamax only, rather than trying to do calcs for base Charizard. Abilities are Blaze and Solar Power. Obviously, Solar Power is the better ability. Remember that you will take chip damage from Sun if you are in Sun at any point during the end turn. So definitely keep an eye out for that. You will end up losing Charizards to things like that. So that's just a little thing to keep in mind. But when we go on to movesets here, we see that Life Orb sets are very, very powerful, utilizing Air Slash, Blast Burn, and usually Scorching Sands to deal with an opposing Regieleki. We also carry Protect here to kind of just help us survive a little bit longer. Max Special Attack, Max Speed, Timid Nature, trying to outspeed or speed tie base 100s. Usually you have like a Tailwind setter, or like I mentioned, Quash, or some way to affect speed to where your Charizard will outspeed all of the threats that can hit it, while also being able to deal with everything that's a little bit slower than you. As for the second set here, this is a Citrus Berry set, kind of doing the same thing. But we're looking to be able to beat up opposing water types with Solar Beam. We have Heat Wave instead of Blast Burn because we're looking to play a longer game rather than a short, quick game. This means that Heat Wave is going to be able to do more damage in the long run rather than trying to OHKO things in one turn with Blast Burn. And again, Air Slash, super duper common flying type coverage here. 252 special attack, 252 speed, 4 in special defense. You could put that 4 in special defense into HP. It doesn't really matter. Just looking to maximize your output of damage and speed all at the same time. And as for this last set here, it looks to stall the game out even longer than the Citrus Berry set does. You're still max speed, but you sacrifice some special attack investment for HP, defense, and some general bulk. You are Assault Vest, so you do get to take hits a little bit better. Pairing this with like a Grimmsnarl means that you just survive any water type attack that really comes your way, paired with like in the sun. You also can survive a lot of rock type attacks with this if you go big with it, like a Reflect Up. So definitely like this set the most of all the three that I have. This is particularly the Sun set from Series 8 that I played with way back at the end of that. I can't remember all the calcs for it, but I do know that you can survive like max attack Landorus rock falls through Reflect and things like that. So definitely approve of this set. This is a great set if you're looking for a Sun counter on your non-Sun team. I highly recommend trying out this set and playing with. When you're looking to defeat an opposing Charizard, it can struggle when Sun is gone, mainly due to the fact that it loses a lot of damage output when it loses its Solar Power boost. If they're not carrying Life Orb, that's going to be felt even more so. So controlling the weather can put a damper on Charizard's parade to save the rain pun there. Things like Kyogre, Politoed, Tyranitar, Rayquaza to an effect is actually a really good answer, just mainly due to the fact that you resist fire and you turn off the weather when you come out. Drampa's another good one that just Cloud 9 is really, really good, or Airlock, or whichever of the weather removing abilities you're wanting to use. And outside of Gigantamax, Charizard's actually fairly frail. It doesn't do a whole lot other than click Heat Wave or Air Slash, so if you can get it outside of Dynamax, look to blow it up that way. Don't try to beat up an opposing Gigantamax Charizard. It's not going to usually end well because it can tank those hits and kind of stall out your team while it's dealing damage over time with Wildfire. You're playing into the Charizard's hand that way if you're trying to take it out in Gigantamax, unless you know you can OHKO it. To wrap up on Charizard here, it's seen a lot of love in Sword and Shield, getting that Gigantamax factor, having Gmax Wildfire, being the only Pokemon to really be able to do that for at least the first 2 series, and be able to do that oppressive chip damage thing. It's shown that if you give it enough attention, Charizard can actually be a powerful option for trainers to use. If you think back to Mega Charizard X and Y, those again were also very powerful options for certain teams that really, really wanted them. If I remember correctly, Mega Charizard, was it Y? I think Y got Drought, X became Fire Dragon. It's been so long since I played against them, but it shows that just giving these Pokemon a little bit of attention, or working with them a little bit more, giving them that gimmick, can help them excel in these formats that are power crept all to heck with Kyurem Whites and Zamazentas and Zacians and Eternatus and Urshifu and all that. It shows that you can still play with these Pokemon even though power creep has kind of put them behind everything else in terms of usage. Make sure to use that Gigantamax wisely. Gmax Wildfire is a very powerful tool. If you utilize it incorrectly, you can't win the game that way. Make sure that there's no fire type sitting on the field that's not going to take chip damage. Deal with an opposing fire type that can easily eat up your Gmax Wildfire. Make sure you don't attack into a Colossal. That's like a big fear of a lot of Charizard players is Gmax Wildfire into a Colossal. You activated the Colossal Steam Engine. Now the Colossal gets to Vocalith you on the next turn and take you out. Make sure that you utilize Gigantamax wisely, because it is a very powerful tool that can win you games that you normally shouldn't be winning. And it's really easy to deal with in normal gameplay, so you use those weaknesses and lack of bulk. If you could stall out that Dynamax or Gigantamax, whichever one it is, and then deal with it effectively using like Rock Slide or Thunderbolt, Hydro Pump, Water Spout, whatever water move, electric move, or rock move you have in your arsenal, Charizard's really easy to deal with still with its lack of good bulk. So abuse those weaknesses, take it out quickly, don't let it just sit there and spam Heat Wave all game. And with that being said, I want to thank you all for listening to me ramble about Charizard today. Make sure to check us out on Twitter, handles are there on screen. Check out the Discord link in the description down below. Remember to check out the merch store on the website, lrlessons.com. All of our merch stuff's there. We've got articles up there as well. And remember to subscribe, hit that like button, leave a comment down below. It means a ton to us if you can help us interact and help us grow on this YouTube channel. And with that being said, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're at in the world, and we'll see you all next week. Bye, everyone.